Hello, my friends. D.L. Anderson here. Welcome back to Transformation by Truth podcast as we share the truth concerning these last days and what you must do to save yourself from the violent times that are just ahead. Today's podcast is a word of truth accounting of the end times. The end is coming. The end is near. Today's podcast is entitled The Torah of Mosheh, the Torah of YHSWH Messiah, Part 5. Understanding the mystery of the parable of the sower and the implanted word of Elohim. The podcast objectives are restate the conceptual model of the order of the Torah, reveal the next dividing line in our quest, reveal the mystery of the parable of the sower, and reveal the mystery of the implanted word. Welcome. Now, before we begin today's lesson, I would like to welcome all my beloved brothers and sisters in YHSWH Messiah who have been scattered to the four corners of the earth, who Yahuwah has joined to this ministry for such a time as this. I would also like to welcome anyone who is engaging our podcasts or videos for the first time. We trust you were led by the set apart spirit in finding us. And if you continue to be led, we hope you stay with us, for these are troubling times and an evil day is just ahead. To this end, if you are watching this video on YouTube and you have not subscribed to our channel, click the subscribe button below and you will be alerted whenever we post new videos. Also, if you have any questions at the conclusion of this video, you can ask them using the link in the podcast description below the video player. Last but not least, if you like the video, please give it a thumbs up so YouTube can share it with believers like us. Wherein we have life and wherein we have death. Shalom, my beloved brothers and sisters, and welcome back to our Word from a Watchman series. In our most recent lesson, we completed our evaluation of the spirit of the law and the letter of the law, and we arrived at the following conclusion, which I will offer as a revelation. The spirit of the law is the foundation of the Torah of YHSWH Messiah, which empowers us to overcome sin, wherein we have life. Conversely, the letter of the law is the foundation of the Torah of Mosheh, which exposes sin and prescribes death. Now, this is why the scriptures refer to the Torah of Mosheh as the Torah of sin and of death, to wit, the exposition of sin and the enactment of death. Likewise, it is why the scriptures refer to the Torah of YHSWH Messiah as the Torah of freedom, to wit, freedom from sin and an entrance into everlasting life. Now, James 1 and 2 are revealing, therefore, put away all evil and receive with meekness the implanted word, which is able to save your lives, and become doers of the word and not hearers only, deceiving yourselves. Because if anyone is a hearer of the word and not a doer, he is like a man who looks at his natural face in a mirror and goes away and immediately forgets what he was like. But he that looked into the perfect Torah, that of freedom, and continues in it, not becoming a hearer that forgets, but a doer of work, this one shall be blessed in his doing of the Torah. So speak and so do, as those who are to be judged by the Torah of freedom. Now, this passage is key in understanding how the Torah of YHSWH Messiah completes the Torah of Mosheh and how it frees us from every penalty and pain of death. Therefore, we will spend a good majority of this podcast analyzing this passage. Let's get started. Applying the knowledge you have received. Now, first things first, we must revisit the two primary sides of this controversy to understand who has the potential to unlock the power of the Torah of freedom. On the one hand, you have false Hebrews who boast in the Torah by breaking the Torah. And on the other hand, you have the chosen elect, i.e., men and women, who are guarding the Torah by our adherence to the spirit of the law. And by adhering to the spirit of the law, we are establishing the Torah. Now, this is crucial to understand, for our nation is filled with false Hebrews who offer much lip service to the Torah, the same way they offer much lip service to Elohim, and the same way their polluted hearts are far from Elohim. They don't really care about the Torah. This is why they resist the Torah of YHSWH Messiah, for it requires us to abide by the spirit of the law, which they cannot do. For this requires the set apart spirit, which they do not have. Now, seeing as these false Hebrews cannot adhere to the spirit of the law, they have retreated to the letter of the law, which for them is spiritual suicide. For being habitual transgressors, they are subject to every pain and penalty of the Torah. Notwithstanding, they are also delusional and in denial, which is why they are wrestling with the Torah of Mosheh to create a path into everlasting life that does not exist. For they are determined to be under the law without being under the law. Now, I said all of that to say this. We have reached another dividing line in our quest, to wit, anyone who is not being led by the set apart spirit will be exposed for the simple but sure fact that the spirit is one of two factors required to guard the Torah of YHSWH Messiah. The other is truth. To our good fortune, we can check the second box, for we are all wearing the girdle of truth. However, we are finding out who can check the first box, to wit, those who are truly being led by the Spirit. Here is why. It is one thing to be led by the set apart spirit in receiving knowledge, and it is another thing to be led in applying the knowledge you have received. When the Torah falls on good ground. Now, this interest point speaks to the model of the implanted word, which is referenced in James 1. And as it is a crucial model of the word, I will provide a definition for it. By definition, the implanted word is an illustration of the word of truth being planted within a heart depicted by good ground. For this is the only heart that can yield good fruit. Now, before proceeding, I would ask that you pause the video and take a few moments to read the parable of the sower. I would advise you to consider Matthew 13, 3 through 9, and 18 through 23. And I will read the final verse. Matthew 13, 23 is revealing. And that sown on the good ground is he who hears the word and understands it, who indeed bears fruit and yields, some 100-fold, some 60, some 30. Now, we have touched on the implanted word in prior podcasts, to wit, in End Times 252, the foundation of the seal of Elohim, which was posted on January 8th, 2024. We analyze the implanted word and the Torah of perfection. Now, that said, I thoroughly encourage you to find the time to listen to that podcast, especially if you didn't listen to it when it was posted last year. Per usual, the content I am sharing in this podcast builds off the content that was shared in that podcast. Along these lines, it is impossible for the word of truth to be implanted within our hearts if we are not filled with the Ruach of Elohim. Here is why. The Ruach of Elohim facilitates the process of implantation. To wit, he guides the word of truth as it progresses from our mind into our heart. And then he transforms our heart to receive the implanted word so that it becomes part of the spiritual root system that is forming our thoughts and our intentions. Now, this process is crucial, for our intentions determine our actions. Ergo, if we receive the implanted word, we position ourselves to become doers of the word. This is why James is revealing that the implanted word is able to save our lives. My dear friends, you must get this, and it is another reason why I often teach on the parables of YHSWH, Messiah. As I have told you before, all the mysteries of the kingdom of Elohim are hidden within the parables, and they are all waiting to be uncovered by the chosen elect. Now, as it pertains to the parable of the sower, YHSWH is speaking directly to the dividing line adjacent to the level of knowledge. In effect, you will be void of truth and knowledge if your heart is not depicted by good ground. This brings us to a revelation, and as it reveals a mystery of the parable of the sower, I advise you to bookmark it and to share as you are led. The seed in the parable of the sower is the Torah of Mosheh. When it falls by the wayside, on rocky places, and amongst the thorns, it is not implanted within the hearts of men. Ergo, it cannot bear fruit, which results in persistent transgression of the Torah. Conversely, when the Torah of Mosheh falls on good ground, it becomes the implanted word, and it bears good fruit. And the good fruit of the implanted word is the Torah of YHSWH, Messiah. Praise Yah. The good fruit of the implanted word. Now, this crucial revelation opens a door for us to understand the procedural model of the Torah, to wit, the how factor. That is to ask, how is the Torah of Mosheh applied in our lives today? The answer is sure. Per the image to the right, the Torah of Mosheh must fall upon good ground. That is, a heart that is filled with the set apart spirit and the fear of Elohim. Now, when the Torah of Mosheh falls upon this type of ground, it becomes implanted within the heart. That is, a heart of understanding. For the fear of Elohim is the beginning of knowledge, and the focal degree of knowledge is understanding. Not only this, but it is by the power of knowledge that we defeat ignorance and deception, which empowers us to adhere to the spirit of the law. For we understand its intent and its purpose. We know the force that is driving it, and we perceive how he gives life to all who follow it. And that life is illustrated and validated by good fruit, which speaks to a very powerful treasure box. Get this: the Torah of Yahushua Messiah is the good fruit of the implanted word. This is why Yahushua Messiah is the goal of the Torah. My dear friends, just think about it. Vis-a-vis, a sower does not sow seeds to reap an empty harvest. Quite the contrary, he sows seed, fully expecting to yield a harvest reflective of the seed that was sown. Brothers and sisters, hear me carefully as I say, the Torah of Mosheh is good seed. And yet, because the majority within this nation, past and present, have held a wicked heart, the harvest has never reflected the good seed that was sown. Ergo, Yahuwah has closed their eyes and their ears so that they never perceive the Torah of Yahushua Messiah. For he has prescribed death for all who have not prepared their hearts to receive the implanted word, and they shall surely die. For look, listen, it has been written, oh, that they had such a heart in them to fear me and to guard all my commands always, so that it might be well with them and with their children forever. My dear friends, this verse is very clear. To wit, Yahuwah's desire is that we have a heart that is depicted by good ground, so that we can receive the implanted word and have everlasting life. This is why James reveals that the implanted word has the power to save our lives. For as it transforms our hearts with the word of truth, it empowers us to guard all the commands of Elohim by becoming doers of the word of Elohim. Hallelujah. Notwithstanding, the implanted word does not stop there. Au contraire, mon frère. Look here. By the spirit of the law, our eyes are open to the Torah of Yahushua Messiah, i.e., the Torah of perfection, i.e., the Torah of freedom. And if we continue in the Torah of perfection, as it is revealed to us by the implanted word, we shall have everlasting life. For by continuing in the Torah of perfection, we fulfill the Torah and become one with the divine order of Elohim. Brothers and sisters, hear me carefully as I say, this is huge. Let me tell you something. The model of the implanted word is a revelation of the highest order. Not only this, but it testifies to the omniscience of Elohim and how nothing gets past him. Along these lines, the spirit of the law is a gatekeeper. Vis-a-vis, he divides the ones who truly love Elohim and the Torah from those who don't. This is why Yahuwah had me speak to the false Hebrews earlier in this podcast. It is to further clarify how they are stuck in the mire of the letter and how they will all surely die, for they cannot receive the implanted word. And now you know why. No doubt, this makes it very easy to tell who is who in this nation. To wit, all who resist the Torah of YHSWH Messiah are transgressors whose hearts are depicted by the wayside, thorns, and stony ground. As for us, we embrace the Torah of YHSWH Messiah, for our hearts are depicted by good ground, and thus we are receiving the implanted word, and we are continuing in the Torah of perfection as we are led by his set-apart spirit. In doing so, we, like YHSWH Messiah, are completing the Torah. We are fulfilling the Torah. We, my friends, are establishing the Torah. And by establishing the Torah, we are saving our lives, which is why James refers to the Torah of perfection as the Torah of freedom. It is because we, unlike the false Hebrews, are being set free from the pain of death and every penalty. And very soon, Yahuwah will have turned back all of our captivity. So speak and so do as those who are to be judged by the Torah of freedom. Now, this analysis accounts for the procedural model of the Torah, to wit, how the Torah evolves in our lives versus the lack of evolution in the lives of the false Hebrews in the dying nation of Israel. However, we still have not touched on the analytical model of this controversy, and that will be the topic of our next podcast next Monday as we continue our Word from a Watchman series for one more week. By the end of it, we will have solved this controversy. So stay locked in, and I'll see you next week. Yahuwah bless you until then. Now, here is the final word. The rebels resisted the Torah and ranted, for the implanted word was never planted. Brothers and sisters, hear me carefully as I say, the past, present, and future of our nation is hidden within the parable of the sower. And yet, if you have his spirit, it should be no great mystery. For look, listen, it has been written, a man is judged according to his works, and the man who prepares his heart to receive good seed will be of great value and great worth. Heretofore, I recommend, be sure your heart is always depicted by good ground, and on the Torah of YHSWH Messiah, always stand. For whether thorns, thistles, stones, or wayside, all other ground is sinking sand. Now, here is today's assignment. Meditate on today's lesson, and if you have any questions, please submit them using the form at pinnacleofholiness.com, and I will respond to you as soon as I can. Now, here is what's next. We completed today's podcast, the Torah of Mosheh, the Torah of YHSWH Messiah, Part 5. And the next podcast is entitled The Torah of Mosheh, the Torah of YHSWH Messiah, Part 6. I will post this podcast on Monday, December 8th, 2025. Until then, my friends, continue to be led by the Spirit of Elohim. Continue to watch, continue to pray, continue in fasting, and most of all, continue to be focused, for the end is coming. The end is near.